There's this moment that changes everything in the military, when the person you thought had no chance whatsoever absolutely destroys every assumption you've ever made. This is exactly what happened when a girl who barely reached 5 foot walked into one of the harshest training facilities in the country, and within minutes, had a legendary general begging for mercy on the floor. But here's the thing, nobody saw it coming. Not the cocky recruits who laughed at her size. Not the hardened soldiers who'd seen decades of combat. And definitely not General Marcus Hale himself. A man who'd spent 35 years making grown men cry. This is the story of how one quiet girl changed an entire military base forever. And trust me, you won't believe what happened next. Right, so picture this. Fort Branson. Early morning. The kind of place where weakness gets you eaten alive before breakfast. General Marcus Hale was basically a walking nightmare. They called him the Iron Wolf, which honestly might have been too kind. This bloke had a reputation that made seasoned soldiers go pale. His temper was legendary. His training methods were brutal, and his ego, massive. Nobody questioned him. Nobody dared it. If you ended up in his crosshairs, you were basically finished. Everyone knew it. Everyone accepted it. That's just how things were. Then she walked in. Ava Coleman, small frame, calm expression, moving with this weird kind of control that nobody really noticed at first. She looked completely out of place, like she'd wandered into the wrong building by mistake. The recruits, they absolutely lost it. Whispers started immediately. Nudges, snickers, the whole lot. One private, Logan Pierce, couldn't keep his gob shut. Kept going on about how she was tiny, how the general was going to absolutely demolish her, how this was going to be properly entertaining. Classic squatty behavior. Really. But Ava didn't even flinch, just dropped her bag, tied her hair back tight, and started stretching like she'd done this routine a million times before. There was something unsettling about how calm she was, not nervous calm or fake calm. Just genuinely like she knew something nobody else did. Then the room went dead silent. Because General Hale had arrived, his boots sounded like thunder against the floor. Everyone snapped to attention. The man had presence, you know, the kind that makes your spine straighten without thinking. He launched straight into his speech about Combat Assessment Day. Skills matter, nothing else. Fail, and you're gone. Standard intimidation tactics. His eyes swept across the room and landed on Ava. You could practically hear everyone holding their breath. What have we got here then? His voice boomed across the training bay. Did someone get lost on their way to a yoga class? The room erupted in laughter. Proper belly laughs. Everyone thought it was brilliant. Everyone except Ava. She just stood there, completely still, and answered in this steady voice that didn't waver once. Sighed her name, said she was reporting for assessment. No fear, no anger, just facts. That seemed to annoy Hale even more. He didn't like people who wouldn't crack under pressure. Egg got closer, trying to intimidate her with his physical presence. Asked if she thought she could survive his training. She said yes. Asked why. And this is where it got interesting. She looked him dead in the eye and said she hadn't come to survive. She came to prove something. The energy in that room shifted completely. You could feel it. The recruits stopped laughing. Hale got this dangerous grin on his face, the kind that meant someone was about to have a very bad day. Step forward, Coleman. His voice had gone quiet, which was somehow worse than when he shouted. Then he said the words that made everyone's blood run cold. Pair her with me. Absolute silence. Logan whispered that she was finished, done for. Everyone thought the same thing. This wasn't going to be a fair fight. This was going to be a massacre. A lesson. An example. Hale removed his jacket slowly, cracked his knuckles, and stepped into the sparring circle like a predator. Ava stood across from him, looking way too relaxed. Too loose. Hale thought it was fear making her freeze. ARD no idea. He charged first, threw a controlled strike at her shoulder. Not full force, but enough to knock most recruits flat on their backs. The kind of hit that sends a message. His palm connected solidly. Everyone winced, expecting her to crumple. She didn't move. Not even a wobble. Hale actually blinked in confusion. She just slowly lifted her eyes to meet his. No fear. No anger. Just cold calculation. And that's when everything changed. What happened next took maybe 5 seconds, but people talked about it for years afterward. Ava moved so fast, most people only saw a blur of motion. She pivoted, used his own momentum against him, trapped his wrist, swept his leg, and twisted his arm behind his back in one fluid movement. Tyron Wolf, the man who'd made thousands of soldiers beg for mercy, was face down on the mat, absolutely screaming. "Stop! Coleman! Stop!" My shoulder. The training bay exploded, not with laughter. Wheat. Shock. Pure, absolute shock. Nobody could process what they'd just witnessed. The legendary general was on the floor, crying for help from a girl half his size. It was impossible. It defied everything they thought they knew about strength and power and military hierarchy. Ava released him immediately and stepped back. No gloating, no smile, just professional distance. Hale rolled onto his side, clutching his arm, his face a mixture of pain and humiliation. He stared up at her, breathing hard, trying to understand what had just happened. "What was that?" he demanded, voice shaking slightly. "A basic redirect, sir," she replied politely. "You overcommit on your strikes." Someone in the back whispered, "Basic." She folded him like a decare. Hale sat up slowly, ego properly bruised. "Who trained you?" There was respect in his voice now, maybe even a hint of fear. Ava hesitated before answering. Said her father trained her. Hale pressed harder. Asked who her father was, and that's when Ava dropped the bomb that changed everything. "Commander Daniel Coleman, sir." The entire room went dead silent. Commander Daniel Coleman. The legend. Tagos. The man who'd single-handedly rescued an entire Special Forces unit from an ambush in Sudan. Stories about him were whispered like myths. Hale had actually served under him once, years ago. And suddenly everything made sense. Ava wasn't just some random recruit. She was the daughter of the most skilled soldier most of them had ever heard of. Hale's expression shifted completely. "Why are you here? Someone with your skills could have walked into any elite program in the world." Ava looked down. Her voice got quieter. "My father died 8 months ago. I'm here to continue what he started." The entire atmosphere changed. All the laughter, all the disrespect, all the mockery gone. What remained was heavy silence and the uncomfortable realization that they'd massively misjudged someone. Hale ordered everyone out. The recruits scrambled to leave, whispering frantically the entire way. Only Ava remained. Hale rubbed his shoulder, which was already starting to bruise. "You could have properly dislocated my arm." Ava nodded. "I held back, sir." He stared at her in disbelief. "Held back." She confirmed it. For the first time in decades, General Marcus Hale didn't feel like the strongest person in the room. He felt humbled. Properly humbled. It was an unfamiliar sensation. "What do you want from this base?" he asked quietly. Ava's answer was simple, but powerful. "Respect, sir. Not for me, but for every girl they underestimate. I want to earn my place here." Hale stood up slowly, straightening his posture despite the pain. He looked at this young woman who dismantled him like a complete novice. "You already have it, Coleman." But earning respect was just the beginning. The real challenges were about to start. The next morning, recruits lined up in the outdoor training field. The sun was absolutely brutal. Hale appeared with his arm in a sling, but his presence was just as commanding as ever. He announced they'd be starting the Hell Course. Groans echoed across the field. The Hell Course was infamous. Obstacle runs, weapon accuracy drills, survival scenarios, psychological pressure designed to break even the toughest soldiers. Eva didn't even blink. As the course began, Logan watched her with this mixture of awe and unease. She moved with unnatural precision, balancing on narrow beams. Like it was nothing, vaulting over high walls, crawling through mud without hesitation. But she didn't look competitive. She looked focused, like she was fighting some internal battle nobody else could see. Halfway through, Logan collapsed from exhaustion. Ava stopped running. She wasn't required to help. Could have easily finished with the best time, but she knelt beside him instead. "Get up," she said firmly. "You're not dying today." Logan gasped that he couldn't breathe. "Yes, you can. Look at me." She lifted him with surprising strength and supported him until medics arrived. Hale watched from a distance. He wasn't angry. He wasn't amused. He was proud. That evening, he called her into his office, told her she'd had the best time on the obstacle course. Asked why she stopped to help Pierce. Her answer was simple. "Because speed doesn't matter if you lose your humanity, sir." Hale stared at her for a long moment. "Your father said something similar once." Ava smiled softly. Hale continued, his voice less harsh than usual. "Coleman, you're different. You're not just skilled. You're grounded. But this base will test you harder than anything you've faced." She nodded. "I know, sir." He warned her that people would try to break her. She admitted they already had. "And yet you're still standing," he observed. Then, unexpectedly, he extended his uninjured hand. "Welcome to my unit, Coleman." Ava hesitated only briefly before shaking it. She didn't join Fort Branson that day. Fort Branson joined her. But the biggest test was still coming. 3 weeks later, at 2:30 in the morning, alarms screamed across the base. "Intruder alert. Complete lockdown." Recruits rushed out confused and half asleep. Hale barked orders through the chaos. "Secure positions. Nobody moves without command." Standard protocol. But Ava noticed something wrong. The intruder wasn't trying to escape. They were moving toward the armory. She sprinted in that direction before anyone else even realized. Inside, a masked figure worked quickly, grabbing high-value weapon prototypes. Avia entered silently. She picked up a torch from her belt and tossed it across the room. The intruder turned at the noise. That moment was all she needed. She launched forward, striking pressure points with deadly accuracy. The intruder staggered, swung a massive wrench at her head. Ava ducked. Rode grabbed his wrist and twisted until the tool clattered to the floor. Then she swept his leg, pinned him down, and yanked off his mask. Logan appeared in the doorway and gasped. It was Sergeant Blake. A decorated sergeant caught red-handed stealing experimental weapons. Blake glared at Ava with pure hatred. "You think you're a hero? You don't know what you're getting into." Hale arrived seconds later, eyes widening in shock. Asked how she knew. She answered simply, "Instinct, sir." Blake snarled that she wasn't one of them, that she'd ruin everything, that Hale had promoted a child. Hale's voice turned ice cold. "No, Blake. I recognized a soldier." Ava stood silently. Blake spat near her boots. "Your father would be ashamed." Ava's face hardened. "My father died protecting soldiers like you. Shame doesn't belong to me." Hale looked at her with genuine admiration. "You saved this base tonight." She lowered her head respectfully. "Just doing my duty, sir." But she didn't feel like a hero. She felt pain from remembering her father. By morning, everyone knew what happened. Ava wasn't just the small girl anymore. She'd done what even senior soldiers failed to do: stop betrayal within the ranks. Recruits treated her differently now. Some with respect, some with fear, some with genuine admiration. Logan approached her at lunch, admitted he'd been wrong about her. Ava smiled. "You weren't wrong, just early." He asked if she was always this calm. She admitted she wasn't. Just good at hiding chaos. Before he could respond, General Hale entered the mess hall. Attention. Complete silence. He walked to the center, sling still around his arm. "I want to address something. 3 weeks ago, I underestimated a recruit. I judged her by her size, her quietness, her appearance. That mistake cost me a dislocated shoulder and taught me humility." Soft laughter rippled through the hall. Ava looked down, embarrassed. Hale continued. "Last night, that same recruit saved this base. She acted with courage, discipline, and honor. Traits that define a true soldier." He turned toward Ava. "Recruit Ava Coleman. Step forward." She did. "By the authority of Fort Branson's command structure, I am officially promoting you to lead combat specialist of this unit." Gasps filled the room. Ava's eyes widened. "Sir? I'm not sure?" He cut her off firmly. "You aren't Italiano, te weak girl." She never existed. Just a warrior waiting to be recognized. Logan clapped first. The entire hall followed. Ava wasn't used to applause. She simply bowed her head. Hale spoke again. "Coleman, your father would be proud." A tear slid down her cheek before she could stop it. "Thank you, sir." And that was the moment the base finally understood a lesson that should be even obvious from the beginning. Never underestimate someone because they look weak. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's calm, silent, and absolutely unstoppable. Ava Coleman came to Fort Branson to prove something. She ended up changing the entire culture of the base, one assumption at a time.